Welcome to the Leadership Lovers Podcast. I'm your host, Will Gladhart, CMO at the Culture Think Tank. At the Culture Think Tank, we empower leaders with metrics that strengthen culture, drive performance, and return. We're here today to learn about the actions leaders have taken to address organizational change. Today, our guest is Joshua Miller, founder and principal at Remarkable Foods. Thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me, Will.
Excellent. Well, let's begin by having you share with our audience a bit about yourself, your background, and your organization.
Yeah, so I'm founder and principal of Remarkable Foods, as you said, and really food service obviously is where I am, and that's where I've always wanted to be. Since the moment I made scrambled eggs at the age of like 8, that was the first thing I ever cooked. Looked up at my mom, said I want to be a chef. That never stopped or slowed down, and I've been like married to the industry ever since. That's how I got started in it, and today I'm a former executive chef and culinary director for a food service management company before I decided to venture off and start this business along with my wife, partner, obviously in life and business, to do this venture of consulting, management advisory services for food service organizations. Really just trying to make innovation accessible and implemented into organizations through training, culinary strategies, and operations.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique field to be in for sure. That you're one of the few leaders that we've had on recently that has a background in that particular area. It's usually sometimes manufacturing, tech, etc. So
Yeah.
as we begin today, we'll be talking about 3 questions as a warm-up to start our conversation. Would you share why you believe a healthy culture is critical?
I believe it's critical because it drives everything in organizations. I don't care if you're a nonprofit, I don't care if you're a for-profit organization, I don't care if you're food service or manufacturing, whatever it is, right? It drives everything. And we know in business, there's always, especially top leadership, are looking at KPIs, measurables, finances, all that stuff. If you really look at the culture, it's not just, oh, what is our financial culture like? It's not, oh, what is our safety culture like? What is the culture outside of those measurables before you even start thinking about, oh, we need to make these improvements and we need to hit these targets? Because really, I think that that's where it starts to make improvements to everything you can measure.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point because without people, without the people that built the business, but also without them facilitating change and growth, that's not going to happen. No matter how good your numbers are, no matter how good your consulting services are, etc. It's been our experience, Joshua, that leaders tend to struggle in 3 key areas: people, process, or profit. In your role as a leader and working with other leaders, could you identify which one of these 3 areas presents a cultural challenge?
Yeah, so I would say for me, it would be process. If you ask my wife, it's probably people. We're small and people meaning me, because sometimes the process for me that I feel like it's one of those double-edged swords. I've always said throughout the years of like, yeah, I love data. I love getting into details. I'm very detail oriented. I'm very process oriented. And then my wife said something to me one day. She says, "You know what? You're very linear thinking." And I was like, I've heard that before. Like that sounds like it might be it. Give me the definition. And she read it to me, and I was like, "Yep, that's me." And so I'm going to actually spell it out here. So linear thinking is the problem-solving approach that involves a step-by-step framework, logical progression from a starting point to a conclusion. And so it's characterized by sequential and analytical mindset, often relying on established rules, formulas, and patterns. And that is me. That is me to a T. And what I've realized is that that can be a double-edged sword, especially in business, especially dealing with clients, right? Because it can lead to like almost this data dump, right,
Mm,
of information. And it's like you hire consultants for expertise and time, either one, both, or the other. And
mm.
it's like in food service, time is probably up there, right? We
Right.
need to hit these goals. We need to, we have, things that we need to improve on. You have the time, help us get there. And then that doesn't help when I come in and like data dump on them. And they're like, we don't need to know the period and a comma of everything that's happening in
Mm.
our project. So that's where I feel like has been a challenge for me personally. It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah. As you've been working with that personal challenge, but also as you've been working with other leaders, was there a particular challenge that had a negative impact on an organization, either culturally or process wise?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, in terms of challenge from a culture standpoint,
Hmm.
there is this empowered leadership culture. It is where you give a lot of freedom to the leaders. They don't have to be senior leadership, right? Just your it could be your managers, entry level managers, supervisors. Giving that empowerment to them to help solve challenges is great for, I think, from a hyper collaboration standpoint and working together towards a common goal. But without frameworks, without guardrails in place, it can lead to it going off the rails where now there's too many. What's the saying? Too many Indians, not enough cheese, something like that, right?
Well, I think the better term is we call it idea fairies, where like there's an idea for everything, and then magically things start to happen, and then everything
Yeah.
completely like everybody gets really confused because there's lack of clarity. So I'm sure you can appreciate that.
That is exactly it. And so there's actually one of our clients is actually a food service management company, and that's exactly what we encountered in the discovery process with them is that they're like, it's great, but it's also not great because there's not enough like management of all the different things that everyone's trying to do and accomplish. There's no singular roadmap. It's just kind of like everyone go. Running around with scissors is the way.
Yeah, that's a that's a good descriptor. Well, and you probably found also with this client, it was impacting productivity, innovation, operations, where things had just either slowed to a crawl because like nobody knew what was going on, but there were lots of ideas about what should be happening. Hmm.
It's still a challenge to rein it in from an outside perspective, right? They obviously their organization, they're separate from us. We're just there to advise. And while it's been helpful, some of the things we've been bringing to their attention, it's hard to know that there's only so much we can do, right? We can give
Right.
advice, but they have to keep going with the business, and we have to keep going on the rest of the project as well. One thing I would say for sure that I loved is in that discovery process. Yes, it brings challenges. Eventually, you hit the point where you're working against yourself because you're trying so many different innovations in so many different arms in so many ways that it starts to slow things down. It starts to make it a headache for your operators. They have too many systems to work with because everyone had great ideas and there wasn't alignment on it. And at the end of the day, though, in those one-on-ones, which was actually the client loved that because in a group setting, you might keep things hush hush, you might hold back, but we made it very clear in these one-on-ones, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between, let it out because at the end of the day, a report and everything that's said isn't going to have names attached to it. We just want to know the facts. It was really awesome to hear, like, even despite all of those downfalls, people really loved working for the leader and they want to make improvements. So it's like, you guys can get through this together because you're already in it. And it's like, you can only do improvement from here.
Right. I think that anonymity, but also the ability to provide that feedback to the leader with course and direction, where it was that personal check-in with every
Yeah.
person. I mean, I know those are very timely, but also hugely critical because you really do start to understand how vested people are in the business, how much they love their role. They just sometimes need clarity, direction, a little focus, and better communication from the leader, which helps everyone understand what their next steps are going to be. I think that kind of rolls into our next question. What was maybe one thing you identified that helped impact either your culture in your business or a client's culture positively?
Yeah, I would say that was eye-opening for me because we all know no one likes micromanagement, right? I don't like micromanagement. I never met anyone that likes being micromanaged.
It's it's our
So
it's our top requested stop behavior. Stop micromanaging us. So surprise.
exactly. So I'm going to say, I'm actually going to go with that. That empowered leadership culture has been mesmerizing for me, and I wish that more organizations would take that on.
Very cool. Well, as we wrap up today, is there anything else you'd like to share or add for fellow leaders?
Yeah, so going along with that last answer, I would definitely say treat others as you want to be treated, right? It's easy to say don't micromanage. I know I've been a micromanager, I feel like at times, maybe not the worst, but I definitely have had those tendencies. At the same time, if you just look at the people that you're working with and the people that report to you, knowing that, hey, they probably want to have some empowered leadership, some empowered decisions and control over what they're doing, just treat them the way that you would want to be treated in their position, and you'll probably get to good results with that.
Yeah, I think that's some really wise advice. Joshua, I've enjoyed having you on our Leadership Lovers podcast. Thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on the Leadership Levers podcast. Find all our Leadership Levers episodes on the Culture Think Tank website at www.theculturethinktank.com or listen on your favorite streaming platform. We'd love to hear from you about the challenges you have faced as a leader. Tune in weekly as we invite leaders to share their experiences in strengthening culture and performance, one action at a time.